Start recording. All right. So when you're ready, just hit it.
Hey y'all, this is Bobby Fish, the most educated feet in professional wrestling, and I gotta say thank you. I'm starting with gratitude every time out. Thank you for visiting the channel. Thank you for coming to bobbyfish.com. Excuse me. Um, Make sure you click that subscribe button because that's why you're here, and we need you. We need you. So click that subscribe button. Like I said, thank y'all for being here. Thank you for coming to the channel. I hope you're enjoying the content. And today we've got a special guest, my first guest, so special that this is my first guest. Um, he is one half of quite possibly the greatest tag team to ever do it. Fresh off of Bound for Glory with TNA, fresh off of his retirement, none other than the master of the 3D. I hope this preamble does you justice. Devon Dudley, welcome to Where's the Lie?
Thank you, Bobby. I appreciate that, man. Great intro. I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Good. Well, I'm glad. I mean, we are Devon. A little backstory. We are fresh off of Bound for Glory. I think it was 2 weeks ago.
About 2 weeks ago now, yeah. It seems
Yeah.
like yesterday, but yeah, 2 weeks ago.
um, Devon, I have to ask, as a fellow pro wrestler, 2 weeks removed from what was your last go, how are you feeling? What are the not only physically feeling, but what are the the emotions that you're feeling 2 weeks removed?
Well, it was a little bit emotional for those that saw the match of Bound for Glory, especially during the end of it. Me and Bubba taking off our boots and giving it to the Hardys. It was something that caught not only myself off guard, but it caught the Hardys off guard. And the reason why I say that is because at first we were going to take the boots and leave them in the ring. And then that got scratched. And then some time went on, and Bubba said, "Hey, Devon, just to let you know, we're going to do the thing with leaving the boots in the ring." I wanted to do it because I wanted to signify that this would be my last match. Excuse me. And to me, to take your boots off in the middle of the ring and to leave them there, and then that shows you were then to try to come back. To me, that's a sign of disrespect. Because the ultimate thing to me is to take your boots off and to be able to leave them there, and then that's it. It's over. So, but to make it even better, handing them to the Hardys. The Hardys didn't know we were going to do that.
Yeah.
They had no idea. They had no clue. And it was one of those things where it caught them off guard. And the minute I reached over and handed my boots to Jeff, the look on his face was priceless. He started tearing up. This is how much. This is how much. Everything meant to us. My lady tells me, "Oh, I was almost emotional until I saw your face, and then you were faking like you were crying." I was like, I wasn't faking. I was trying to hold back the tears. I was like, I'm trying to look tough. I'm trying to be mean, bad Devon. I don't cry. I don't do anything like that. And I'm trying to make that face, but, it was very emotional. And I love those guys to death. Like I tell people all the time, and I've said it before, I named my third son after Matt. And, that's how close, the Hardys and the Dudleys were, where I named my son after Matt. And we had that bond. So,
yeah,
it was very emotional for me because it is my last match. And, I trained 6 months prior to the match. I did boxing, and the boxing, not to become a boxer, but to help me with my footwork. After having the
Mm-hmm.
back surgery and the nerves not, reconnecting as fast as I wanted them to be, I had to make sure that there was going to be nothing holding me back in this match. And so I went and did the boxing. It was great. It really, I remember the first 2 weeks, the nerves started coming back and started firing. Nothing running down my leg, no back pain, nothing. So it actually worked out really, really well. And then after that,
it was obvious to me that there was some work put in because listen, you and Bubba had no business moving as well as y'all did at Bound for Glory, but you did.
I took it very seriously, and and I'm going to say this, and I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way. Ric Flair had retired many times. Like him and Terry Funk. Excuse me, and the one with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania, in my opinion, and I think a lot of other people's opinion, should have been the end. But it wasn't. Rick continued to wrestle and this and that. But, when I saw Rick in his retirement match with Andrade, and I forgot who else was in that match, I think it was Jeff Jarrett. Am I correct?
I don't quite remember. I'm horrible with history. And
all right. Well, whoever it was.
Concussions.
Yes, you and I both.
Yes,
and, when I saw that it wasn't the Ric Flair, of course, Rick was 70-something years old, so that's another factor in it too. So, and I hate to say it, but I just didn't want to be like that. I didn't want to not be able to move it around. People say, oh, he should have been in the ring. We all respect Ric Flair. We think he's one of the greatest of all time, but at the same token, at 70 years old, I don't know. And again, I'm only 53, so I'm not 70. So I could have been able to, fare a little bit better than Rick, being that, again, he was 71 and I'm 53. But I didn't want people to think that I didn't have it anymore. And that was my biggest thing. I didn't want to be an embarrassment. Plus, remember, and I'm going to say this for the record because I kept quiet about this. I didn't say anything because I was hoping that it would leave people's minds. But, I had a stroke 5 years ago. So, trying to come back from that was hard. And then it was like 6 months right after having a stroke, I had back surgery. So it was like one thing after another that I had to recuperate from. Now, when you look at those odds, I'm not supposed to be back in that ring doing what I was doing. I should not have been moving the way I was moving. But I took this very seriously. I made sure I was in the gym when I was supposed to. I did the hard work. I didn't care what my trainers put me through. Saliva was coming out of my mouth, snot coming out of my nose. I was so blown at times.
Right.
And it was to the point where I would sit down and go, why the hell am I doing this?
Yeah.
Why did I say yes to this? But it felt good for me to be back training the way I was training because I hadn't done that in years. And I always used to look back after my back surgery and go, man, I remember when I used to be able to do this and this and this. Now I can't do it anymore. Well, I had to prove to myself that I could do it. And I did do it. I was flipping tires, doing the ropes, you name it, I was doing it. And my trainer would look at me a couple of times. He'd be like, all right, Devon, let's take a rest. I go, no, we're going. We're going.
Right.
I'm not resting. There was time, like when we first started flipping the tires, it was like five times. That's it. Flip it one way, flip it another one. That's one. Flip it one way, flip it another one. That's two. And I remember doing it 5 times and blowing up like crazy, having to take a break in between. Then I got to the point where I was doing more than 5. And it got to the point where he was like, all right, well, let's do 8. I was like, all right, fine. Did 8, boom. Let's do 10. Okay, 10. Then it was 20. So I kept increasing it, wanting to make sure that was better. And I would have that Rocky theme in my head the whole time.
I
had oh God. Listen, I had Spotify on and I would have the Rocky album in my playlist.
Hell yeah.
Over and over again. And it gave, because Rocky, the movie Rocky 3 is where my character comes from. So that gets me hyped. That gets me going.
You and me both.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have a pulse if it doesn't.
If you don't have you don't have a pulse if it doesn't get you hyped. And and it would always run in my head. Certain songs, whether it be Eye of the Tiger, even Living in America.
Sure. Yeah, legendary songs.
Yep. Getting Ready for the Fight. I mean, it was, and then the Rocky 4 with Drago, when they were getting ready, that music was really sent me over the edge. So it was stuff like that would get me going. And
Yeah.
I just refused to quit. And I've never been a quit. I never said no. If I'm gonna put my all into it, I'm gonna put my all into it and then some. And that's exactly what I did. I don't care how tired I was. I don't care how much my body's about to fall apart. I was gonna get up and do it. My trainer goes, he said to me, he goes, Devon, it's okay. You're good. I go, no, I'm not. Let's go.
Right.
I'm telling him, let's go.
Yeah.
And then everything I did with you guys, you and Dallas really helped out tremendously because again, I'm doing things to my body that I had never done before and making it move and manipulate the way I did. And that did wonders. The last time we were together at my wrestling school, and we were doing, I hadn't seen you in a couple of months.
Yes,
but yet it was kind of like, even though I might have lost a step or two, it was like I'd still had it because again, I was still training with Dallas, and then I got with you, and then everything just set into motion.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just kind of like I guess for lack of a better term, like scratching off the scab at that point. Like what's underneath is still there. You don't just lose it. And I think that that's one of the best things about DDP Yoga and about Dallas's program is that like you're setting a foundation, and that foundation's not going to leave you. It's not to say that it doesn't need to be like that lawn doesn't need to be watered, because it does, but it's not gonna go completely away. And when you do revisit it, you do come back to it. Just don't stay away for too long,
Exactly. And with me, I've got 3 little kids, so I want to be able to still move around, with them. And people who have back surgery, usually don't bounce back like I did. They're not usually getting ready to get into the ring and do what I did. And, that's a testament to me doing what I did. And,
100%.
People were like, oh, and I was tired of seeing the comments underneath. I'm excited to see Team 3D and the Hardys go at it, but Devon, please be careful because of your health. And that bothered me because, as the man that I once was before all of that happened, big and strong and ready to go at the drop of a dime. And it's like now people are concerned about my health. I understand that, but it bothered me. And
we're never not going to be men.
Exactly.
Like you don't, that doesn't go away because you've gotten older. You still, you're a fucking man. And like, that should bother you.
Yeah, it bothered me. So I was like, my health is fine. People would say, please be careful. And I'm like, and like friends would call me when they found out that I was doing the match. And they're like, Devon, look, just please do me a favor. Just be careful. And I'm like, why are you telling me that? And they'd be like, oh, well, and I'm just like, dude, I'm fine. I would not be if I wasn't.
I gotta be honest in this moment. When you went up the ladder, I was holding my breath because I'm like, this son of a bitch. Because I thought for sure, and I'd see just, I grew up watching you and the Hardys especially. So even if, no matter what, I was going to be holding my breath.
Right.
But the ascent up the ladder, it had me thinking like, oh my God, he's, and y'all just, you delivered. But I wasn't sure what I was getting ready to see.
Well, the thing about the ladder spot was when they told me about it, I was like, yeah, okay. And I hadn't been up in a ladder in years. But in my house, I have to use a ladder to go change the filters. And I know the first couple of times I did it after my back surgery, I was scared. I was wobbling. I was like, how the hell did I ever do a TLC match? And,
right.
And then I started doing it on a regular basis. I was like, all right. So then as I'm going up that ladder, I was like, remember, you did this at home, so don't worry about it. And I remember I just went, should I just fool them all and jump on Jeff and win the title? I said, but knowing Jeff, he would move.
Yeah.
He would move, but it was great. And I remember going because Matt was supposed to come over and stop me, and I didn't see Matt in sight. And I'm working my way up the ladder. I'm like, Devon, slow down. I don't see Matt. And I was like, oh, what the hell? Just do it.
I think that's what was getting to me is like I'm watching you go up and nobody's meeting you, and I'm like, okay, if he goes up and he gets there, like,
I gotta jump.
He has to jump. Like there's nothing else left to do.
I couldn't sit there and try to, maneuver my way like back down to the ladder to hit Jeff or
No,
what have you.
no,
If I would have
no.
got up to the top before Matt got there, I would have to go up there and jump.
Uh-huh.
I would have had no other choice but to do it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just remember, and let me tell you something. When I went to go do the what's up, I did it from the second rope, but when Bubba slammed him and said, "Get up," and as I went to go turn around to go up on the rope, I almost went outside to go to the top.
Yeah.
I
And
almost
you would have
outside.
been in no man's land at that point too. You would have had to go.
Yeah, I would have had to go. And I said to
Yeah.
myself, I said, "Don't push it. It's okay. Go to the second. You're
Yeah.
fine." And and either way, I would have been fine. I think I would have been fine either way. But
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. And one of the other things was, when it was all said and done, 30 seconds into the match, when Jeff went after Bubba, Bubba moved and he went through the rope. Here comes Matt, punches me, punches Bubba, punches me, punches Bubba, comes back to me. I duck his clothesline. He hits the rope, comes back, we 3D him. But when I
Uh-huh.
3D'd him, instead of landing flat on my back, I went and turned to the side a little bit and came down on my elbow, which shut up into my shoulder.
Nice.
So I went to go punch Matt after that, and I couldn't lift my arm. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh God!" I was like,
Well, it's
"No,
because
not now."
wrestling's fake. It's because wrestling's fake.
Exactly. And so it got to the point where I was just like, "Oh God, please don't let this happen."
Yeah.
And as I started to move my arm, it started to come back, and I was like, "All
Sure.
right," but it was still heavy because it hurt.
Yeah.
And I just remember at that point, the old habits of me kicked in. I ignored the pain. When I'm out there, I don't feel it. And that
Right.
was one of the things I was scared of. Did I still have it to feel that way? I didn't know if I did or not. And that's what
Yeah.
scared me before I got into the match. But like I said, 30 seconds into it, and that happened, and I was unable to lift my arm to throw a punch. And then all of a sudden, it started coming back, and I was like, okay, I got this. It's all good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have to say myself watching it from the crowd, like I was fortunate enough to do, the moment you're talking about at the end, there's just so much history between the two entities that are in the ring that are staring at each other after a job well done. Those questions were answered by the four of you, so it was a special moment. I know for me as a fan, it was a special moment because there was so much history, but then also
Right.
just knowing you personally and then knowing what the Hardys have meant to the Dudleys and what the Dudleys have meant to the Hardys. It was a special moment that I think the fans were able to feel along with the performers, along with y'all. Just and we don't have enough of these in pro wrestling sometimes, but just a feel good moment without being too, corny or kumbaya about this. Like it was just a beautiful sort of ending. I say this is a phrase that I've kind of coined, but I'm going to use it here too. It was beautiful violence.
It really was. And I was very happy with the outcome of it. Listen,
Mhm.
so many people retire in wrestling and then they wind up coming back. And
Mm,
it's like, okay, I don't want to come back and do another match because I don't know if it'll be as good as what we did at Bound for Glory, you know?
yeah.
And in my opinion, I don't know how we can top that. Being our age, Bubba 54, I'm 53, Matt's 51, Jeff is 48. We've been through hell and back, with our
Right.
bodies. So it's
Hmm.
kind of like, it took everything in our power to pull that out. Well, at least for me, it did.
Yeah.
But I just don't know if getting back in the ring trying to capture that moment again is worth it. I'd rather do what Bill Cosby said when he said when the Cosby Show was going on, he left
Hmm.
at the height of its ratings. He was on top
Yeah.
of the world. He said, "I wanted to leave while I was on top, and not while
Yeah.
the ratings started to fall." And that's the way I
Yeah.
feel about this match. I want to leave on that high note. I want the
Of
fans to remember that
course.
match, then for me to get back in the ring and be nothing like I was at Bound for Glory.
Right. Right. Well, I
Again,
think you've identified it. You went out the way you wanted to go out, and there's no
Mhm.
reason to come back. You walked out the door. um you're not going to come back and stand on the porch and just not go back into the house. Like, it doesn't make any sense. You
Exactly. Plus, I'm a little nervous because if we do that ladder spot again, Matt might not show up in time. He might go. So let me see if Devon gonna jump.
That would be one hell of a rib. That would be an epic, epic rib. I would become Matt Hardy's biggest fan at that point.
I would sit there and be screaming at Matt. Matt, get your ass over here, please, please.
Right. Get those janky knees up here, right?
Yeah,
What did y'all
please.
call him?
Yeah,
His knees, because they bow out, right? I remember seeing that on
yeah,
some documentary or
yeah.
something.
Matt's knees always had done that, especially when
Yeah,
he got up. You know,
yeah,
my lady and I
yeah.
were working in the ring, and she said to me, she says, you know, you need to get up a little quicker, and this and that. And I'm thinking, I'm like, well, I know how Matt Hardy gets up. So if I get up anything like Matt Hardy, we'll be
I think I
equal. So
got
I'll be
time.
okay.
Right,
I'll
right.
be
I
okay.
got a buffer. I got a buffer.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, Devon, you talked about your preparation for this, and
Hmm.
you talked a little bit about the surgery that you had, and so I'm gonna rewind us back a little bit just to when it's not when we first met, but it's when we kind of re-met on a flight back to Orlando. Um,
Hmm.
we had met each other previously, but this was the first time that we really got a chance to have a conversation. I think what I discovered myself was that the way that you saw our industry and the way that I saw our industry was very similar, and that was very cool for me. Again, as I said, like, I not grew up because but for lack of a better term, I did. I watched the Dudleys, I watched the Hardys. I was fans of it, and I came up and got into it and saw how the donuts were made just a little bit behind that. But, like, you're always a fan.
Hmm.
So um and in the conversation, we had talked about your surgery. We had talked about some of the health issues, and we did, when we got off that flight. We made plans to get together and to start doing DDP yoga. And I'll tell you, it's for me, it's one of my favorite aspects of having gotten the certification to teach DDP yoga, because if you had told me, the first TLC match as I'm watching this, and you guys are taking the bumps off of ladders and through tables and all this other stuff, if somebody had said to the fan me, like, hey, you're going to do a certain kind of yoga that's going to be created by Diamond Dallas Page, of all people. You're going to be doing it with one of these guys, and you're going to be helping them recover from some of the injuries and whatnot that they had, and get ready for it. It wouldn't even matter what it was. I would have been like, you're crazy. Like, that's not in the future.
I
But
just, I wish Dallas would have done. I wish Dallas would have could have been around to create
yeah.
DDP yoga when I first started,
Oh,
because
sure.
I think my body would still be going. But
Yeah.
again, back then in my era, it was kind of like, you lift all the weights you can to be big and swole,
No
you
pain,
know,
no gain,
no
man. No
pain, no
pain,
gain,
no
right?
gain. We
And the
don't
way
have
we took
time for
and the,
mobility.
and the way we took those chair shots, to the
Yeah.
head without putting our hands up was brutal. First thing I told Matt and Jeff, I said, listen, everything is a go, but please don't, if you pick up a chair, don't hit me in the head. I said, I don't know if I could be able to take that one again. Because
I
we
get
we
it.
would we would swing for dear life, and you weren't allowed to put your hands up. You had to take
Yeah.
the hit. You had
Yeah.
to take it.
Yeah.
And you know, because if you didn't, they would call you the P word. And You know, it was very hard back then. It really was, especially if Bradshaw and Farouk saw you put your hands up, you were done.
Yeah.
You were done, man. So,
Yeah.
you know, again, I'm just very happy that the match turned out the way it did. The fans loved it. We loved it. The emotional roller coaster that we put the fans through was great. I loved it. And that was our goal. And, you know,
Yeah.
not a
Tell the
dry eye.
story.
Yeah, not a dry
Yeah.
eye, you know, in that
Yeah.
arena. And who would have ever thought that?
Yeah, yeah, especially considering, you know, the rivalry that it was, but I think that that's exactly why there was not a dry eye, you know, because there's a certain respect that I think even in combat sports, when you fight somebody, there's a respect that you gain for that opponent, and you could have hated him during the lead up, but you gain a certain respect for going out and competing against your opponent, and I think it's the same thing with pro wrestling. Probably even more so because there's a certain respect for the way that we do our business, and similar to the way you and I were kind of viewing the business in the same way on
Mhm.
that flight made me see that. I think some of the chemistry that comes across in the ring is the fact that the combatants see the business in the same way. They approach it in the same way, and that was always the case with the Dudleys and the Hardys, and
Yeah.
that's why it
Like I
worked.
said, I'm just, Bobby, I'm just happy and really, you know, I can go out and just be on that page where I'm like, Devon did it his way. He went out the way he should have.
A
And that was
hundred
it.
percent,
You
a
know,
hundred
and
percent.
you know, again, I wasn't knocking Ric Flair. You know, God bless him for getting in that ring 70, especially after the health scare that he had. You know,
Sure,
I just did
sure.
not want people to feel sorry for me. You know, I
Yeah,
remember seeing some of the comments that were made on the YouTube channel when that match finally made it to YouTube, and it was like he shouldn't have been in there. Whoever put this on should be arrested. You don't have a man like that
yeah,
going in there. You know, and I can understand where they're coming from because again, 70 something years old, especially, you know, escaping death. And so did I.
yeah.
I escaped death too, but I wasn't 70 something years old. I was 50. You know, I was like, I believe I was 50. I just turned 50. And,
Sure.
you know, it was kind of like it was very hard. And, you know, I just did not want the fans to look at me that way, you know,
Hmm.
and you know, kudos to Ric Flair for getting in that ring and doing it at 70 something. I just can't see myself doing it at 70 anymore. I think, you know, the attitude era, you know, we're at that point where I hate to say it, Father Time caught up with us. And it's time to
Sure.
hang it up. And it
He's
does that to
undefeated.
everybody. He's
Father
undefeated.
Time is undefeated. So
Exactly.
I guess my question for you, Devon, would be: have you talked to Bubba since Bound for Glory?
Oh yeah, we talk pretty much every other day, if that, because we still do
Okay.
autograph signings together and things like
Oh,
that.
right, right. So you
You
got
know,
to
and I
schedule stuff.
exactly. And I remember, you know, leaving. We went upstairs to do an autograph signing after the show, and Bubba was just spent. You know, he was
Yeah,
tired. He was all
yeah.
tired, and you could tell he was. We were on the elevator. He's leaning up against the wall, and I'm like, "Are you
Hmm.
okay?" He goes, I'm Devon. My body's just done." And I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
"Wow." And meanwhile, I'm jumping around, but my shoulder hurts. But I'm like, "Yeah, I can do it again." You know, but I don't want to do it again. You know, because again, it took everything in my power to get to that level, and you know,
yeah.
I'm glad I was able to do it, and now I can go home happy.
Yeah. I think I know the answer to this already, but I gotta assume Bubba was happy with everything as well, and other than feeling like he got hit by a truck, happy.
Yeah, he was happy. I think the biggest
Good.
thing for Bubba was the emotional ride that we gave the fans. That's what he was looking for, and he had
Right.
said that countless times to me and the Hardys. You know, that's what he wants.
Good.
He wanted to pull on everybody's heartstrings, and
Yeah.
it worked out that way. It really did.
Well, I think it was an interview that you had done recently with Bubba and with Maven where y'all talked about the yin and the yang, and what made y'all such a successful tag team was
Mm-hmm.
that you brought the technical in the way that you came up with Johnny Rods. You brought the technical side and the basically like the X's and O's, the ins and outs of the physical portion of it, where Bubba was more in tune with the psychology of it, and
Yeah,
that
I was
you
pretty much the
weren't
technician of it.
well, and that you weren't both you were both equal parts but different sides of the same square, you know, so to speak.
Yep.
And I thought that was very interesting take on what makes a good team, especially one that has reached the heights of success that y'all did. Um, and yeah, so that was that was interesting to hear. I really enjoyed it. So y'all, if you're out there, check it out. I was that your podcast,
Yeah, that was
Devon, or
my
was that
podcast.
Maven's? Okay,
Nope, that
that
was
was
mine. I had
yours.
Maven join us. I thought
Okay.
it'd be fitting for Maven to ask the questions on my show
Yeah,
as opposed to me and Bubba, me asking Bubba and vice versa. I thought
right.
we needed that third person in there, and what better
Yeah.
person to get than Maven?
Well, I mean, you know, I'm biased, but I mean, what better person to get? Me?
Absolutely. But you hadn't gotten
I'm
there
only,
yet.
yeah, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Uh, sorry, Maven. Sorry.
No, no, he's still an a-hole.
Yeah, yeah, piece of shit. What a
Yeah, that
piece.
Maven. Damn it, that Maven.
Wait, I was just about to ask you, can I say piece of shit on him? But this is my show. I say
Brother,
whatever
you
the
can do
fuck I
whatever you
want.
exactly.
Right.
If Joe Rogan can do it, so can you.
There you go. There you go. Um, so Matt and Jeff, when's the last time you spoke with the two?
The last time I spoke to Matt and Jeff was probably Bound for Glory. I hadn't
Oh,
spoken to them
really?
yet.
Okay.
Yeah, it was probably
Okay.
Bound for Glory was the last time. I mean, God,
Okay.
we got in the back. We couldn't stop hugging each other. We couldn't stop telling each other thank you, going over
Yeah.
everything in our heads. We were
Yeah.
just very grateful. We really were. Nobody
Of
got hurt.
course.
The fans
Yeah.
loved it. We were good. My girls loved it. My
Yeah.
lady
Job
loved
well
it.
done.
It was
Yeah.
just really good. My son loved it. My friends that were there loved it. I know you told me how much you liked it, and it was an honor to have you
Yeah.
sitting ringside with
It
my
was
family.
it was an honor for me to be there, Devon. I can't thank you enough. I'm so grateful for that you just that you think that much of me that you would ask me to sit with your family there. That really, and I'm not trying to be corny with this, but that means so much to me.
Do you
That's
remember?
how you feel.
Do you remember a few months when not even it was a few months ago when I first found out that I was going to do this match? I called you up and I said I want you there. I
Yeah.
said I wanted you there. I said I want you
Yeah,
to be right
you
by
did.
ringside. I
Yeah,
said,
you did.
you're the reason why I'm able to walk and do what I do. You in Dallas, I want you there.
Well, you did 100%, and I took it to heart. And you have been so forthcoming and so quick to give me credit for some of it. I'm sorry, Devon. I gotta state this for the record. It's credit I don't necessarily deserve, but you've been so gracious in that way. And it really it's just like it does. It means something to me. It lands in a way that I can't explain to you. But I'm just so grateful to have been a part of it, you know. And again, the little kid in me, no one the fan, not the little kid, but the fan in me, um, just would not believe it. Just wouldn't, you know. Um, so going forward from here, Devon, what's obviously the signings and whatnot that
Mm-hmm.
you got going on, you and Bubba, Team 3D, the Dudleys is gonna live on in that regard, doing signings. So make sure y'all, if you need to get your fix of the Dudleys, you get out there and you check them out. Also, Devon, you have your YouTube channel.
Yes, I got the YouTube channel that's doing extremely well. We have the
Yes.
sponsors. I have the wrestling school, the detailing business down in West Palm. So I'm actually doing okay. I don't really, and plus I got the Legends deal with WWE, which I'm very
Yeah,
grateful for. Triple
of
H
course.
and all of those guys for giving me that and letting me still be able to make money to feed my family and to live the lifestyle that I have. I'm very grateful for the WWE. I know a lot of people, like to badmouth them or what have you, but listen, I had a great run. I had a great career. And
Mhm.
I do owe it to the WWE, and I'm very happy that that is the case. So, God bless those guys, for helping me to still maintain and do what I do. But again, I'm just grateful and happy. Period. I'm such a God fearing man, and I can't thank God enough for everything that He's done for me.
Well, it's, as a Christian myself, it's his plan, right? We know that. I do have a question that came to me just now. When
Mhm.
so in the course of your career and your history, were there points when you were in ECW where you were experiencing success, a certain kind
Mhm.
of success, but where you had just kind of written off the fact that like WWE is just not in the cards. Like it's just not, what it is. Do you have any memories of that?
Well, I do remember, excuse me again, I do remember me and Bubba going at it a little bit because we got the phone call from Vince Russo.
Hmm.
Um, he kind of it was kind of like, okay, we want the Dudleys.
Yep.
And I was like, yes, finally, my dream come true. And then all of a sudden it sunk in. I'm like, the WWF. I was like, oh God. I was like, I'm gonna be a little fish in a big pond. I was like,
Right.
I'm happy being that big fish in a medium sized pond in ECW. And I was scared, nervous, and I told Bubba, I was like, you know what?
Of
I don't think
course.
I don't think I want to go. I think I want to stay. And he was like,
Yeah.
what do you mean stay? I think I want to stay. He goes, Devon, we have an opportunity to go to WWE, and now you don't want to go because you're nervous, because you're scared, And it was kind of like a little bit of fu there. I was like, I ain't scared, blah blah blah, and I was.
Well, so here's where I'm going to take this, Devon, because you just mentioned that you're a God-fearing man.
Mhm.
Those insecurities, I think we know where they come from because it is biblical, and that's
Right.
the enemy. The enemy is the one that puts the doubt in our head. He's the one that tells us that we're not good enough. You're not that good of a performer. You're not this, you're not that. Hey, Devon, you're okay in the little pond of ECW, but you're not ready for WWE. That, my friend, that's the enemy.
And back then, I don't think I really knew that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, Bound
I
for Glory knocked the enemy on his ass, as
Yeah,
far
it
as I'm
did.
concerned.
Listen, he's madder than hell. No point intended, but he's mad. And as far as I'm
Yeah,
concerned, he can stay mad because
good.
God, no weapon formed against me shall prosper, for I'm more than a conqueror. And, I learned how to let go and let God do his will. And that's what I'm going to do. All praises due to my God,
Testify.
my brother. I like the way you said that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's the first time too. I've never gone there before. However, well, Devon, is there anything? Because I don't, you know, I'm in no hurry, but I can't think of a better place to maybe wrap this up unless you got anything more for me or the people out there. I'm gonna say this, and this is coming. I'm speaking for me and Devon. Diamond Dallas Page, thank you. You are the most Christ-like individual that I've ever encountered. Um,
Mhm.
and thank you. Just thank you. Period.
Yeah, I mean, I can't put into words enough. Guys, if you have back surgery or any type of surgery, whether it be your back, your knee, your shoulders, give DDP yoga a try. DDPY would be the best thing. I'm telling you, it's not something that you can do once and go, oh, I don't feel nothing. Trust me, it works. You have to keep at it like you would be in the gym, putting all that weights on the bar and then pumping it up, thinking you're gonna
Mhm.
get big and muscle and swole. How about you do the same thing with breaking up scar tissue in your body so you can walk and be new again? That's what it's all about. And again, I thank God for you in Dallas. I thank God for just everybody that's been in my corner, since day one with this stuff. And, you know, again, I am very happy and content to be able to walk away from this business and go, like Frank Sinatra, I did it my way.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. That's a perfect ending. I will say, y'all, DDP Yoga is the truth. Devon Dudley spoke nothing but the truth here on the Where's the Lie podcast and my YouTube channel. Devon, we are ending each segment with a little something we call two truths and a lie.
Hmm.
So I need you to give me two truths and a lie, and then it'll be on me to figure out, folks, where's the lie?
Absolutely. Well, I can tell you this. I think one of the truths is I'm very grateful, to everybody that's in the wrestling business that helped me along the way, even the ones that I didn't like. That's one. Uh,
All
number
right.
two, the second thing I'm grateful for is just being able to, and I can say it now because I ain't getting back in that ring, but I never had a real serious injury like a ACL tear or anything like that. Thank God. I got
Mhm.
in that ring and I didn't fall down the ramp. That was my biggest fear. The pyro hits, the music hits, I walk down and trip. So thank
Yeah.
God that never happened, you know. But I think one of the
You
biggest
didn't
lies,
pull a Titus O'Neil.
no, oh God, no. Oh God, no. And
Yeah.
he'll never live that down. But I think another thing
No,
is, you
poor
know, uh,
SOB.
listen, I was never scared. I was in that ring, I was fearless. I did what I wanted to do when I wanted to do. And the one thing I was never scared of Vince McMahon. Now you figure out what's the lie, what's the truth.
Yeah. Yes, sir. That's my job. I will do that privately. For all of y'all out there, I'm not gonna give it up. You're not gonna know, but know that I know.
Exactly. Know where the nose goes.
There you go. So, Devon, anything else for the people out there in wherever it is that they are?
Absolutely. Well, check out my YouTube channel as well at Devon Dudley YouTube. Check it out. Leave your likes and comments and subscribe. Of course, get the word out there. And of course, for you, my friend Bobby, I am very happy and honored to be your first guest on your show. And I want everybody to like and subscribe because this man has knowledge beyond belief. He will be able to tell you how it is and he won't lie to you. So trust me when I say it. This podcast that we're on right now is the truth. And I ain't talking our truth. I'm talking Bobby truth.
I got friends in high places, y'all. Like when
There you,
Devon climbed up to the top of that ladder and Matt Hardy was taking his damn time getting up there.
yeah.
Um, I know people in high places. So click the subscribe button, y'all. BobbyFish.com, my YouTube channel, Devon's YouTube channel. Devon, please keep doing the thing, doing the stuff. The Dudleys, they just simply can't completely disappear. However, we are done seeing the Dudleys in the ring. You close the chapter, rode off into the proverbial sunset, and God damn it, I don't think he could have done it any better than what you and Bubba did. It's a testament to the professionalism of both of y'all. And yeah, y'all, it's hard to argue against this, but the greatest tag team to ever live, the Dudleys.
Thank you, Bobby. And I can tell you one more thing before I let you go. You know, if Saudi Arabia calls Crown Jewel and you want to give me six figures, I may just strap on those boots one more time. I'm just saying, if Goldberg, if Taker, if Shawn Michaels and them can do it, well, hell, why can't Devon? Just give me the money.
There you go. Give me the money. Give me the
Show
money,
me the money.
y'all. Show me the money. Tom Cruise said it best.
Absolutely. What was it? Mark McGuire? What was it? Mark McGuire? I
Jerry
think no.
Maguire.
Jerry
Jerry
Maguire. Yeah.
Maguire. Mark
Jerry
Maguire.
McGuire. Mark McGuire
Yeah,
was the
he
baseball player.
yes, he was trying to hit home runs.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, Devon, I love you.
Thank you,
I
Bobby.
can say that. And praise God, testify, y'all. We're out.
All right.